Dear friends, we are continuing the conversation about seeing reality as it actually is. Yata Bhuta Jnana Dasana. Seeing what has become like it really is in accordance with reality. I had originally thought of this theme as one where there's a measure of peace and happiness when we put ourselves in harmony with reality. And welcome this constant flow of impermanence, the flow of causes and conditions. There's a certain kind of a way that realizing that the present moment, what we have right now, just in this instant, is the result of uncountable billions of causes and conditions that have happened through the course of time, through the course of history, that have caused the world to be at the place where it is right now, and have caused us as individuals to be just at the place where we are right now. And so then, even if you could say that the way it is now, just at this moment, is not perfect because we wish we could be better, or we wish something could be more comfortable, we wish for, in many kind of ways, continuously being dissatisfied or looking ahead, that there could be some kind of way that the present moment could be improved and could become even better later if we organize things right or do things correctly. But learning how to let go of that restlessness of the mind, that constant dissatisfaction or disharmony with what is, and becoming at peace to accept the perfection of this moment, and then how beautiful it is just to exist with reality, being in accord with reality. After having declared the theme for today's Daylong and continuing to reflect about it, I think what I have to say to you today is going to be a bit more dark than that. Although our path is an individual path, the practice that we're doing is individual, looking at the tendencies and coming to understand what's within, how this body and mind is operating, how it works there. It's also true on a wider level of external society. And we can't help but look around and see that there's a war scheduled to start tomorrow. Unless they decide not to in the end, or they could pull back from the brink. But all of the ammo and the guns, everything's all ready to go. The war is ready to start. The drought here in the West is unmatched by anything that we've experienced in the past 1,200 years. And it's getting worse and not better. The sea level rise is going faster and not slower. Here in the West, we're only going to get 8 to 12 inches of sea level rise between now and the next 30 years. But in the Gulf Coast, they'll get twice that amount. And so we'll see that the great city of New Orleans and entire nations will have vast disruption of humanity as a result of change in sea level. And then when we look all around us, we don't see humanity rising to the occasion and becoming unified and brave and smart and doing the things that we should do to face these difficulties. But instead, it seems like humanity is still deteriorated to ever sinking levels of foolishness and cupidity, lack of wisdom, lack of courage, lack of insight. And so then some of the inner anxiety that a person might experience can be reflecting our awareness of what's going on around us. So I want to make you consider the possibility that what the Buddha taught is not that we should acquiesce in going along with all the bad things in the world. Instead, there's a way that a person who doesn't understand Buddhism can say that it's like Nibbana is like a big cop-out, that we see all of the problems, all the difficulties, all the dukkha, all the misery, all the suffering, and then we say, oh, well, I'm letting go of everything. I'm letting go of all craving, all preferences. And so then I'm out of it. But actually the other kind of solution is what would really be a cop-out. If we imagine that one can lay down the burden of this life and go to heaven and be united with the divine element, or become one with everything, somehow reach this nondual solution where everything all becomes one, and our troubles disappear in that way. That's like thinking that there's a way to get out of this world of woe, which is not a reality according to what the Buddha discovered. You know, he said that if he could have, he tried to find a teaching about the self, this would be like the eternal self, which could become united with the ground of being, that could be united with Brahma. I said, if I could find a self that leads to an end of suffering, I would have taught that. That's what he was trying to find, what he was trying to teach. And when he searched and searched and searched, and he found it's not there. And so the reason he doesn't teach it is because it's not true, not the reality that he could discover. And so then this yatha bhuta jnana dasana is actually has to be the path of great courage and has to be the path of ocean-like compassion, that we don't flinch and we don't blink and we don't stop seeing the difficulties in this world. There is something that's quite historical about this moment. I was born at the end of the last World War, 1948. And during the time that I was growing up, there was this whole era in which it seemed like the world was getting better and better. The wars were coming to be less and less. Cruelty seemed to be less and less. Poverty was less and less. Happiness was more and more. Wealth was more and more. And the only kind of dukkha that we thought we experienced was this kind of like this ennui of a person who is very comfortable and yet they're still not satisfied. Well, we're out of that picture now. So I think most of us are outside of the comfort zone, and even people who have a comfortable lifestyle can be very truly and strongly aware of how actually insecure our existence is. We see this, I think, with the younger generation, and how children whose parents might have been having a certain amount of economic security, and then the children are trying to grow up and being so driven by anxiety, driven by this striving to accomplish a great deal, to be very successful in school, to do whatever it takes to get into one of those few slots on one of those better colleges, and then once in college to really make that effort and strive to get into one of the very few slots that's available at the top of the pyramid, so that they could hope to survive with something that is sort of equal to the comfort and stability that their parents had. Yatha Bhuta Jnana Dasana. Mendicants, conditions are impermanent. Conditions are unstable. Conditions are unreliable. This is quite enough for you to become disillusioned, dispassionate, and freed regarding all conditions. A condition there is the word sankhara, which has the external meaning of everything in the world, which is affected by causes and conditions. And then sankhara also has an internal meaning in the evolution of an individual that has to do with all of the choices we've made, the decisions we've made, all of the intentional acts that we've done that have got some kind of a karmic fruition that cause us as individuals to come to a certain point. At the very beginning of dependent origination and the 12-step formula, the standard formula of dependent origination, the first 2 steps are kind of like an overview of the whole picture. And then the following 10 steps are like going over it in more detail. So the first 2 steps are dependent on ignorance arises sankhara. Depending on sankhara arises consciousness. And then once consciousness starts, then we're like off to the races into the process of our individual psychology and the way the mind creates its own pattern of suffering. But that's that kind of backward look because we didn't have the wisdom. We committed so many intentional, volitional deeds. We made so many choices. We created so many habits. We created so many patterns. We have placed ourselves on a road, on a path. And it can seem a bit like a trap, but part of this yatha bhuta jnana dasana, knowing and seeing things as it has become, is a part of it is saying like, well, how did I get to be here in this fix? How did I come to be, the person I am? And well, it's because of ignorance and choices. That's the summary of everything that went before, that got us up to this moment. But because of that, seeing this impermanence, unstable aspect, this unreliable aspect of conditions, we know that what we can do with our willpower is not by itself going to be enough. We cannot pile up enough good karma to solve the problem. But what we can do is by looking with courage at this impermanence and unreliability of the world, and becoming disillusioned or disenchanted with all of this construction, this fabrication, the castle that we build for ourselves. We're disenchanted with that. We know it's just a castle in the sky. It's just something imagined that's really very ephemeral. And then when we become disenchanted in that way, then the passion, the emotional reactivity, what comes up, the reactions of an uninformed person who's not practiced in the Dhamma. We can see that that reactivity tempers down, reduces, becomes tranquilized, becomes allayed, becomes less, and then our path becomes easier because we're not so driven by these impulses anymore. In a certain kind of way, you could say, by coming into this human birth and growing up the way we did in the world we did with, whatever the circumstances were, we got so many bad habits of unskillful ways of thinking, ways that were afflicted by greed, afflicted by trying to run away from anything unpleasant, afflicted by trying to be in denial about anything unpleasant, afflicted by so many negative patterns. But when we study conditions, we study what dukkha is and how it works, eventually we come out of denial and we can see that these patterns are just perpetuating the problem, not solving the problem. And at that point, we don't need willpower in the same way anymore, because we don't have to get out of our bad habits by imposing willpower. Instead, the mind naturally loses interest in doing what is self-destructive. It's just not tasty anymore. The things that used to please us before because it was giving us a temporary escape from being aware of the suffering in the world, it just doesn't have the appeal anymore. We're over it. And so the mind easily and naturally starts to step back and scale back on those self-destructive tendencies, those self-destructive habits. And in that way, our suffering begins to be reduced and our faith comes to grow. We experience some freedom because we don't have the same compulsion that we had before. There's a part of this ignorance, this asmi mana, I mentioned that earlier today, this self-conceit, they call it, that's involved with having anxiety about one's existence. Here's another quotation. I should give the citation so that people will know. The first one I thought I quoted before at the beginning about all conditions impermanent. That's in the Book of Sevens of the Anguttara Nikaya. It's the sutta number 66, Skolsata Surya Sutta. Now here's another one. This is one of the verses of the elder monks. This is the elder enlightened monk Adimutta. He said, I do not have the thought, I have been, nor do I have the thought, I shall be. Before we woke up, we so worried about the future, about providing so that we can have enough, so that we can be safe in the future. This is why young people have suffered so much, because they've got the potential for decades and decades of life going forward, and are very dubious. How could they possibly arrange to be safe in the future? If you believe in heaven and hell, then you can think about what kind of life I have. Will I be born in heaven, or will I be reborn in a hell room? A person who commits a lot of evil deeds, who is suffering because of remorse and guilt and anxiety about feeling that there's some punishment coming because of their evil deeds in the past, that person could be expecting to be reborn in hell. They could have so much fear, so much anxiety because of that. And these kind of useless thoughts are part of what the plague part of why we suffer until we can open the wisdom eye. This Arahant Adimutta, he compares the destruction of the self, or the end of one's individual life, as being no more a personal concern than a pile of twigs and leaves burning in a bonfire. Out at our hermitage, we're doing a procedure of fuel reduction to reduce the possibility of a catastrophic forest fire in the future. So they've cut down a lot of trees and small trees and branches, and the smaller level of the understory of the forest. And we've been in the process of doing controlled burns and burning up the fuel to safely reduce the amount of fuel that's available to reduce a conflagration in the future. So when we watch the bonfire and the fire burning, we don't go into agony and say, oh, I'm burning. Because we know that just because the fuel is burning over there doesn't mean I'm burning. So it's the same thing for one who has woken up. When this very body is burning up, when this very body is afflicted with disease, death, violence, or whatever catastrophe could fall on this body, it's got no more significance to them than a bonfire with some twigs and brush burning up. Adimutta said, I do not have the thought I have been, nor do I have the thought I shall be. The constituent elements of this body and mind will cease to exist. What lamentation will there be in respect of that? There is no fear for one who sees, as they really are, the pure and simple arising of phenomena, and the pure and simple causal continuity of the constituent elements. When by wisdom one sees the world as being like grass and wood, not finding possessiveness, thinking it is not mine, I do not grieve. This is the way, if we can let go of this self-conceit, thinking it's mine, it belongs to me, then we're able to face the fire. We're able to face the catastrophe internally and externally, what's happening personally within us and what's happening in the world. We can face it with that courage and that ocean-like compassion, and without any grief at all, because we know it's not mine. I'm going to just continue giving you some quotations from the sutta that are reinforcing this idea about how facing reality is our liberation. That's truly the way out, is by facing reality, not from running away from it. This is Anicca Sanya, the perception of impermanence. Anicca Sanya Sutta. This is in the sutta, in the Connected Discourses, 22.102. When the perception of impermanence is developed and cultivated, it eliminates all sensual lust It eliminates all lust for existence. It eliminates all ignorance. It uproots all conceit I am. And so this is the pointer towards the kind of practice we ought to be doing if we still have those habits of mind, if we still fall into denial, if we still fall into looking for some kind of comfort as a way of escaping from anxiety. It is the meditation practice and the contemplations which are pointing towards impermanence, understanding impermanence, seeing the flow of impermanence. When one perceives impermanence, it says here, the perception of non-self is stabilized. Earlier on this year, during our regular weekly programs, there was a very argumentative man who came in on one occasion, and he was quite disrespectful and argumentative, and he was also seemed to be unhappy. And but the insight that that fellow had, it was like he was saying that anything that anybody could say about anything was a concept, and being that it's a concept, it's not really true, it's not the reality. And so it was this kind of like flailing about, like wherever we look to find an anchor, find something to hold on to, find some a religious idea, some belief, some idea about, what can we trust? What kind of practice can we trust? He was seeing these are all things that are unreliable and artificial. And well, in a certain kind of a way, it is true. And that person was onto something. He was just at a very rough and difficult phase of the spiritual quest, of seeing that the catechism of the Dhamma, if you just take it as a concept, if you don't find the way to come through and to directly experience and realize it, then it's just another catechism. It's no help whatsoever. And it can be, there can be a way that seeing the flow of, seeing the tendency of the mind to be constantly fabricating ideas and concepts that are not real. A person can get to be quite depressed about it. Saying, how I can't stop the brain from continuing to produce all these concepts. So how is it possible to find any solid base? And how can I find a solid base with impermanence? Because impermanence is not solid. We just said a few minutes ago, it's unreliable. All fabrications are unreliable because of impermanence. But here, this is like a promise that's given here in this perception of Anicca Sutta, that something can become stabilized, which is the perception of non-self can become stabilized. The delusion of self can be cut off when there's that perception, when one perceives non-self. They eradicate the conceit, I am, and that escape from the conceit, I am, is Nibbana in this very life. So this is the promise of this practice, the promise of doing the groundwork with the entire Eightfold Noble Path, doing the work of living a life which is somewhat contained and giving up the gross kinds of running after excitement, distraction, and pleasure in order to make space and also to allow things to begin to settle down, to begin to become calm. This is the purpose why in meditation we make so much effort to just let the mind become still, to allow the disturbances to gradually and gently settle down until the mind becomes very clear. And then it becomes possible that one is no longer continually grasping after anything at all. When we stop grasping and holding on to our whatever we're holding on to, when we let everything go, then we can directly see and experience the flow of impermanence. And the promise here is that then that's where this non-self, the perception of non-self comes up, eradicates the conceit I am. And this is Nibbana in this very life. This is the end of suffering in this very life. These are my thoughts. It's not just a little pleasant trip to the park to have this seeing reality as it really is. It is something that is the natural outgrowth of cultivating this path of practice, cultivating this entire Eightfold Noble Path. And it is something that needs to be balanced with kindness and compassion, as well as courage, so that then one doesn't have one is protected from the possibility of falling into a kind of nihilism, a kind of just a negativity, saying this life is no good. I don't want it anymore. This existence is no good. I don't want it anymore. That's not the solution. The solution that the Buddha is promising for us is one which is avoiding both of those traps, and allowing us to be truly present, truly alive, as long as we have this body, but completely freed from any kind of anxiety associated with trying to protect our individual existence. And then with that freedom from fear and anxiety, then we may choose to look around and do whatever work seems to be the right work to pick up, the right work to do, whether it be being as a dedicated practitioner who's putting a lot of energy into the cultivation of wisdom, or whether it be as one who's socially engaged, manifesting this courage and compassion in the world. Whatever work we choose to do can be done joyfully and fearlessly. There's a request for the sutta references in the chat. And while we are doing the questions, I think I'm going to allow a few minutes for questions now. And I will put the references in the chat. How can I do it? There's one. Oops. One. There's one. There's one. There's one. So thank you, everybody, for your patient listening. I hope this was meaningful to you. I'm now going to turn off the YouTube so that people can speak honestly, and invite your questions or comments about this idea, how to see reality